Hey folks, it's time for another TWiP PRO photo critique. This is number 40. This is TWiP. All right, welcome back to This Week in Photo. It is time to dive into yet another TWiP PRO photo critique. And to do that, you can guess who I'm hanging out with today. This is my friend, Mr. Troy Miller, partner in crime, man of 1,000 opinions. Most of them involve black and white and or distressed property. What's going on, man?
You know, I'm not used to us jumping right into the critiques. We normally have a little green room banter to kind of warm up. But
no, man, the community is growing, Troy Miller. It is growing. Yep. So, you know, we got to start trimming the fat and diving directly into the substance of these things. So.
And I'm good with it.
Yeah, but it's cool. Yeah, I was looking. We were both before we started recording, looking through the submissions in the community, and there's some really good ones in here. I know we say that every time, but every time there's really good ones in there. You know, aside from the ones Peter Levchin put in there, but it's still. I'm joking, Peter. I'm joking. But no, there's some good stuff in there, and lots of stuff to talk about. Before we do that, though, housekeeping-wise, anything happening on your side of the world?
You know what?
Vibrating your camera.
Yeah, I'm gonna move my monitor. I'm gonna move my monitor. Nobody's gonna know. Yeah. As we were talking, I started writing a blog on spicyjello.com. It's under the thoughts tab. So I would love some feedback on that. So I'm just kind of, you know, it's a place for me to kind of brain dump in between all of our conversations. We always talk about little things like, hey, I wonder how it would be to do an engagement shoot with that camera or whatever. And I was like, ooh, I should do that. Yeah. So that's new. That's been fun. So
that's cool. That is cool. Well, cool stuff happening on this side as well. I'm lots of changes happening. I think I may have alluded a couple of months ago in the TWiP PRO community about doing an office hours type session. I think it's going to finally come to fruition. I'm going to do some tests this week as time allows, but I want to start kicking off a weekly open door office hours session where people can come in, hang out, chat, you know, get your thoughts out there. I think finally found the perfect software to allow me to do that. So,
that'd be great.
Yeah, so I'm going to put it through some paces today and tomorrow and Wednesday, and then hopefully kick a test off before the end of the week. And maybe as soon as this week or next week, I will start with the regular reoccurring office hour sessions. So, and I also want to re-kick off you remember the Watch Me Work sessions that we were doing?
I do.
Yeah, so
I missed those.
Coming back too. So I'll be able to do that as well, much easier. One of the, you know, sort of the holdback from doing those things was just logistics and software and how do you do it, right? Like with an office hour session, how do you do it? Do you use YouTube and use the chat for people to interact? You know, but I think I found the perfect solution to allow the community to get even more engaged. So, you know, you'll have to wait and see what that looks like.
I know. You haven't even told me. I feel left out.
No. Well, I literally just got off a webinar with them earlier today. So, this is real time, Bob.
And that's how fast things change.
It's just,
literally.
It's just like that. You know, I was on it like literally an hour ago. I was on a webinar with them and we're going through all the features of the software and pricing and all that. And I'm close to pulling trigger. So, and
cool.
And the delay is, part of the delay is, I think we got over it, was we're going to be running some Black Friday specials, so you might want to hold off on on buying a subscription until Black Friday. So, you know, so we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's dive in, man.
Let's do it.
There's a lot of stuff to sort of talk about here. Let's get rid of that. And here we are on the page. Let me make sure that this is using the right app. Okay. All right. So here I am at the top of the photo critique section topic within TWiP PRO. It looks like the first one we have is from Armando Brook. I love seeing all these new names in here, man.
Yeah.
It just makes me happy to see all these new names showing up in the community all the time. And, you know, because there was when we first started the community, it was like, we knew everybody and it was great to know everybody, but now it's even more exciting to see all these names of people that I don't know, you know, that are just sort of showing up in here, which we will eventually know. All right, so this first one is from Armando Brook. It is shot with the Nikon D800. Let's go into the shot here. We posted this just yesterday. He's in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I want to go there. All right, here we go. Motorcycles. Look at that. Look at that depth of field, man. That's almost an exercise in depth of field.
It is. It is. I know. It's such a neat shot. I love that. I love that line that goes all the way back to those guys. I wish we had the last guy in there.
Oh, in frame. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be helpful. Of course, they're moving, so it's hard to compose that. And I think he's shooting with a fairly long lens, so they're coming in and out of frame pretty fast. We have a lot of empty space on the right and the left, so this nice straight line of bikes is kind of cool, but it would be nicer if we waited for them to come around that corner just a little bit, and then you have more of a panoramic in the sense that you have a
J too to their positioning.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I like the composition of this because it's got the diagonal of people, and motorcycles that are just sort of slicing that frame from top left to bottom right. The negative is exactly what you pointed out. My eye it was led all the way up the riders to the guy in the back who got cut off, right? So I wish he was in there. I wish we had a little bit more space to play with in there.
But what a great commercial shot, though, right? If you clipped off the left side a little bit, made it tighter, then on that right-hand side where the road is, you've got all this space for copy. So maybe that was intent. We don't know, but that's fantastic. I do also think that the reds and stuff are pushed a little bit too far. I don't know if that was an exposure issue, but like the red helmet is certainly glowing. It's almost overexposed, probably in the red channel. Yeah. That's interesting. One thing I was hoping to get your eyeballs on this because I couldn't figure it out. So looking at the image, looking at that lead rider, number 28, and then if you just look off to the right there's sort of a blurry sort of area that shows up in the image. You see that kind of, it's like blurry over there. I don't know if that's because I want to say that's depth of field, but then depth of field starts way back there with the guy in that sort of fuchsia and the like you said, the oversaturated guy with the red helmet. But looking at the foreground, just like if you look at number 28's, his left boot, and then go off to the left there, camera left. See how it gets blurry there? Yeah, I'm thinking that's quite a bit of ways behind them. You got to remember if he's shooting really long lens, and I think in the description it's a 600 millimeter, 150 to 600.
Optical. That's optical. Okay.
Yeah, so that's actually a long way behind. I'm guessing that the third guy, the red helmet, he's still in front of that white line. I bet you he's still closer to us than that white line. So all that compression, and that's why long lenses are so great. Yeah. You get all that shallow depth of field. So that didn't bother me. I thought that looked normal.
Okay. Have you ever leaned a bike down like this?
I have a dirt bike. I've done it on a dirt bike. Never at this speed.
Well, at this speed on a dirt bike, your foot's out, right? So
your foot is out. Yeah, not on your knee. Yeah. I've laid them over pretty far. Yeah,
I had a sport bike. It was a Honda CBR F4i, red and black, of course. And I leaned it down like this, and obviously not having the pads on my knees or whatever, but I got it down pretty low. But after a certain point, you realize how talented these guys are. Because after a certain point, my brain's like, this wheel, if there's a pebble or a penny on the road, my wheel's gone, and I'm in a hover round for the rest of my life. So
right, and they only have like 1 inch of tread, roughly 1 inch is touching the ground.
Yeah.
So
that's so crazy. Love it. But great shot. Thank you, Armando, for submitting that to us. Much appreciated. All right, new member, Vicente Gallardo, is brand new. I believe Vicente introduced himself yesterday. He said he's from Mexico, was looking for other people from Mexico in the group. So if you are from Mexico, give a shout out to Vicente here. Let's take a look at this shot. Okay, so yeah, he says this is his first shot. He shoots with a Sony. All right, here we go. Hey, a watermark. Look at that.
Oh no, Vicente, you're going to start the watermark conversation.
That's a cool looking watermark though. Look at that. It
is. I like the understroke and stuff. I like it.
Yeah. All right. I'll let you go forward on this one. What do you think?
I really love the concept of this. I'm struggling a little bit with the subject feels out of focus. Our model back there, she's not sharp, and I wish that she was sharp. And then you could really crop off on that right-hand side and balance this so she's dead center off those two, we'll call them pillars on either side, and that would add a lot of harmony and a lot of balance to this. And then some dodging and burning would really help. But I think the biggest thing for me is that it's not in focus.
Yeah.
On the subject, I should say.
Right. Yeah, I agree too. Yeah, that's there's a couple things for me in here when I look at the image. First thing I look at, because it's largely monochromatic, you know, with the woodwork and the ground there, or you know, sort of earthy tones. But then I look at the brightly colored model in the back up on that stand there, and she is soft. So yeah. I want her to be tack sharp, because that is the most important element of this shot is her. And she seems a little bit soft. So, yeah, I'd work on getting her sharper if you were able to do this again, Vincente. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, that's it. I mean, just the sharpness and the balance. You know, the cropping for balance, for symmetry would be really help a lot.
Yeah, I could have swore you were going to say something about the too much foreground in there with the too much floor area.
I'm okay with it if you submitted this image where it was tack sharp in the back and the symmetry was, you know, dialed and everything. Maybe I would look at, you know, other elements. The foreground, the skylight maybe is a little bit too bright, little things like that. But, you know, you got to get the image to, you know, a certain point first.
Yeah, no, for sure. But cool, thank you. That was the very first submission, Vincent. They appreciate it.
Yay. Keep them coming.
Yeah, that's right. Keep them coming.
Yeah. Frederick's not always that harsh.
I'm always this harsh, man. What are you talking about? Okay, let's go back down here. Thomas Aaron is in the house. Street photography in downtown Denver. Let's take a look at this one. There's Spidey. Look at him. You can't fool anybody.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. You know what I like about this shot? I like the color pop of the Spider-Man costume, and clearly, you know, when he shot this was the month of October, so this is around Halloween. But the pop of the reds and the blues of the Spider-Man costume, the fact that the Spider-Man, quote in quote marks, is looking at us, and then the undersaturation of the background, which makes him and the depth of field, the background is blurry, so it makes this guy just sort of pop out of the foreground, you know, automatically without being oversaturated. So
right. No, you know, I like it a lot just the way it is. I think that it's a great photojournalistic shot. You know, if it was an ad or a portrait or something of that nature where, you know, I really wanted to see things cleaned up and fixed, that would be okay, fixing lines and signs and stuff. But that's also not where this was. So this tells an amazing story, which is really what it's, you know, intent is. Even his shoes and socks match his outfit, you know. Yeah. And the ghostly figure in the background is kind of cool and creepy. So, you know, great capture, good eye for seeing something like this happen. I dig it. Yeah. Peter Parker, man, look at him riding around Denver. He kicked him out of New York. The Avengers kicked him out of New York. Now he's in Denver. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Thank you, Thomas Aaron. Moving right along. Craig Stampley, a fancy Fiat at dusk on a shopping center car park. Oh, look at that car. Look at that. That is nice. I need that car in my life. That just needs to be in my life, period. Wow. All right. But when I first look at this, I think symmetry. You know, so the symmetry is great. Spot on. He's got, you know, obviously, whenever you look at Craig's shots, I'm seeing a theme of intent with what he does. His shots are very intentional. Not that, you know, everyone else's isn't, but you could tell that when he looked at this photo or the scene, he's probably like, okay, how can I best represent this car? Let me shoot it symmetrically. Cars are inherently symmetrical. And I'm going to lean down a little bit to emphasize the aggressiveness of this car, this black car sort of looming over you. And I don't know if he did it in post or if this was captured like this, but again, it looks like the background is slightly desaturated to make the car pop out a little more. But it's cool. I dig it. I know you're going to say crop out some of that foreground, but no, I like it. No, I wasn't going to say that. I was not going to say that. What I was going to say is let's burn down that foreground. Right. You know, this thing is obviously lit by strobes. and it looks like he's got one on either side off to the side, maybe at 20, 30, 40 degree angle or whatever, which is
why
great.
Is it obvious that it's lit by strobes? What's the
Well, there's shadows.
the takeaway? The harsh shadows?
Yeah, on either side of the car. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I would do is I would clone out those shadow lines so that they would be blurry, right? So you have softer transition. And then I would burn in that foreground to get it to match as much as you can to the background without making it look super obvious. And then also when you do that, you've got to watch the color, because the color shift is going to happen. The foreground's warmer than the background, asphalt or concrete, whatever that is. So try to get those tones really the same, and the hues and the saturation and the darkness. And then that car is going to pop out even more.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I never. That's so interesting. I learned something every critique, because I never considered retouching a shadow to make it less. Because you're right. I mean, the shadows are what our brain used to kind of discern what the quality of light is. Part of it, right? And are the shadows blurry? Are they soft? Are they harsh? Or harsh edged? And I never considered manipulating the shadows to sort of, remove that point of data from the brain. Very cool.
Yeah, just a little bit. And if you want to take it just one step further, take out the parking stall lines on the right, and just little things like that. Just clean up an image just infinitely so much better that when you look at it, there's not little things that your eye goes to. Whether you're conscious of it or not, our eyes look at that stuff.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. And Craig Sampley, if you're able to acquire this car, I'd be more than willing to put it in my driveway if it needs a home. If it looks a little lonely, I'm happy to adopt it if it needs a home.
What a goober.
Yes, I am. Mark Harris, IR tests. Uh-oh.
Yes.
The influence of Troy Miller.
Yay.
Great, with a great deal of advice and encouragement, Troy Miller. I got my old D3200 converted for black and white infrared. Look at this.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to let you go to town on this one, since you are responsible in some ways for this image.
Yeah. Oh, this is my favorite image in the whole
see, community, you're seeing how easy it is to please Troy Miller, to bribe him.
Oh no! It's him and I've been chatting for a little bit as he was getting his camera done and everything. So this is one of those kind of exploratory infrared images where you go out in the world and you look at something, and you're like, holy crap! Look at that thing glow, and the shadows go totally dark. So things become much more graphical in nature, and you see a lot more of the symmetry and the shape and things that are there. I would say on an image like this, which I really like, is watch those shadows. If you can, try to not let things block up too much, because in infrared, subtle shadows can go almost black. And you still want to try to keep the rule, if you will, is you want detail in the highlights and the shadows as much as possible. But that said, you may want it to be more graphical in nature. So, but I love it. If this was mine, I would probably take the brightness in the leaves up a little bit. And the way that you would do that in infrared, instead of just increasing the contrast or whatever, you can actually take that color channel if you're in Lightroom and increase that color channel.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. There's a million different ways to process this, but that's one.
Love it. Infrared. We might have to start an infrared section of TWiP PRO here if we get enough enthusiasts in there.
Yeah.
All right, Mark Harris, Twisted is another one. Twisted, while working with a model with whom I hadn't in many years, we made this photograph, which he feels conveys a strong sense of turning inward. All right, let's see. Let's bring this image up. Wow, look at that, the human body.
You know what I think would be really cool with these images, and it's I think that if everybody were to try to title your images, not always, but I think that as an artist, that if you can come up with a title for the image, it sort of helps you understand and helps everybody else understand your image. Now he put in Twisted, and that may just be the title, but not all of these have titles. So I know that in competition, it's a struggle, but it's also helpful.
Yeah, for us to sort of get the idea of what you were thinking, without necessarily having a full caption that we have to read and dive into with the specs of the image and all that, just to title it and give us a direction.
Yeah, titles are fun. They're fun and challenging, but I love the abstractness of this. I really do. I struggle with two little points, and the first is her right foot toe kind of sticking out there arbitrarily. I really wish that we could have hidden that foot. And then her left hand, and I'm being nitpicky because everything else in the image is amazing. Mm-hmm. Is I wish her left hand felt a little bit more natural.
Yeah, that was my only nit with this, was that left hand. People very rarely hold their hands like that, right? So just a little bit of relaxation in the wrist, and a little spacing between the fingers, just have it sort of gently lying there on her calf, versus the military salute kind of thing going on there.
Right. And then I would balance her left and right in the frame. I wouldn't leave heavier space on camera left. I don't think it helps.
Center. What about headroom in this one?
I like I like it. Yeah. This is one of those kind of images that would look amazing if you had a completely black frame and you had her in the lower right hand, say third of the frame or quarter of the frame, like really, really, really buried and hidden in there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This would, because it's sort of that sort of dark loneliness, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Put her in a bigger space to make it even to accentuate the lonely of the image.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. Right now, with us close to her, relatively speaking, of the in terms of the image crop, we're right there with her. So we're with her. So she's not really alone right now. She's right. You could console her and say, yeah, they're there or whatever. But if it was wider, boom, she's way over there and she's kind of on her own.
Some distance. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Good eye there, Mr. Miller. You've been doing this for a minute, huh?
I do.
All right. Here we go. James Glennie. Okay. So this is an astrophotography shot. Let's bring this one up. And folks, like I mentioned in previous episodes, I'm purposely not reading through the descriptions on all of these as we record these critiques, so that we can, Troy Miller? Judge them on their merits?
That's right. Yeah. They're visual merits, yeah.
Yeah, visual merits, yeah. Very cool. Look at this. This is what blows me away. You know that most people in large cities have not seen the stars like this?
I know.
Have you seen the stars like this, Trey?
I have many times, and I'm always in awe. Yeah. This is wonderful.
This is what the sky looked like in Puerto Rico when I went down there.
Oh yeah. The closest I've ever been to the stars was in the Olympic National Forest in Washington. It's like 12,000 feet. Totally clear. You could just look up and see satellites all over the place, and it was actually too bright by the stars to do star trails and stuff.
Really?
For what I was doing, yeah.
You could see satellites flying by and blinking.
Oh, just like there's one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of space junk up there, but yeah.
So this is great. I love that cloud layer in there. Mm-hmm. I don't think that this would have as much impact for me without that cloud layer. As far as the sky goes and the Milky Way that's in there, I would probably try to pull the blacks down in there a little bit more. I know that it's probably pushed up just to kind of get some of the stars, but working with some clarity and dehaze and things like that, because there's a lot of black in between the stars. So I feel like it's better when there's a little more contrast in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm still on that astrophotography kick. It's just a whole interesting genre. Speaking of astrophotography, you gonna put your Nikon Z through the paces on doing some astro type shots? You think it can?
I'm gonna put it through everything I possibly can. I haven't had a chance to yet.
That's awesome. But you still hate that camera though, right?
Yes. Oh my God.
It is horrible. No, I love these kinds of shots. I love the contrast and the graphical nature of the foreground with the tree lines and all that. And I agree with you. The transition, for me, it's a transitional layer, the cloud layer, transitioning from sort of the shadowy warm tones into the cool, sort of stark tones of space up there. So yeah, I dig it. Really, really cool.
Yeah, but just in any of the Milky Way shots, if you go and you look and you find some of your favorites, you'll notice that the space in between the stars should be black. Mm-hmm. Visually, that's right. It should be black.
Yeah.
So try to push it down a little bit and
Okay.
get it a little closer.
All right. James Glennie, rocking it. All right. Next shot is from Mike Doran here. It's from his archives.
The motorcycle.
Leaning in. Uh-oh. Dirt bike with his foot out. Is that you, Troy Miller?
That would not be in a dirt bike exactly.
What would this be? Enduro, right?
It's like an enduro. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's like the funnest. Well, short of jumping, this is like the funnest thing to do is go into a turn really hard. And it's always amazing how the bike even sticks. And
it takes a severe amount of trust and skill from the rider, right? To know your bike that well. I mean, because you're not only do you know the bike and what it's going to do, torque wise and the sort of forces pulling on the bike and gravity and all that, but it's also the temperature of the tires, right? So
you're
temperature.
right.
The tires have to be warm and sticky enough to be able to do that. It's just like, it blows my mind whenever I see a shot like this.
Yeah, and you can feel the bike slipping. Like, you're right at that verge. I mean, so a subtle more twist with his right wrist, that bike's gone. I mean, he'll lose traction depending on where he is in that point, right? But I mean, they have that much power, so it's a delicate balance. It's not that simple, and it's just like shooting this. I mean, this is a fraction of a second. He's around that corner super quick, so you've got to know where he's at, plan for focus, tracking. So this is superbly handled. I really like this.
Very nice. Very cool. Yeah, I love these shots. This is really making me want to go out there and try this type of photography. Have you ever tried this?
I have, yeah.
Motorsports, motorcycles.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of off-road racing, trucks, desert racing. So there's a lot of bikes and there's usually track stuff in there. The only thing I would say to Mike Doran in this image is let's get rid of the dude in the white shirt. That's the only thing. It's really the only thing. It's my only nit. I mean, I realize he's probably a track official or whatever, but he's in a white shirt. Yeah. He should have known.
Just get him out. Clone tool.
Get him out.
Healing brush, something.
He's gone, yeah.
All right. Very cool. All right. Moving right along. And the next shot is from Peter Levshin. I really like this shot. Because I like that I like the remoteness and sort of stark feeling of New York City, but also that long shadow with the woman jaywalking there illegally, by the way. The illegal jaywalking. Peter, you caught a crime in progress. You need to send this to NYPD. But no, it's cool. I love that. And I love the fact that she is our, for me at least, she is our subject. We're in New York City, a city that's nothing but subjects. Like I was texting you when I was there, New York City feels like a set. Like everywhere you look, you're like, oh, this could be a scene from Seinfeld. Oh, look over there. That could be anything. That's what it feels like.
Right.
And to get a shot that is iconic New York with Empire State Building in there and a subject caught at just the right time in the sunbeam of the sun peeking around the Empire State Building to get her shadow just like that is really cool. So bravo, Peter.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. And although, yes, we have caught a subject jaywalking, I'm assuming that the photographer is doing it as well. Right?
Peter may have been in the back of the cab or something, just aiming back.
No, not Peter. I was shot with him. The only thing that I would add to this, everything you said is amazingly true, is I feel like the sky is burned down a little bit too much. We don't need that. And then your vertical lines are not vertical. And I'm just,
Are they converging? Is it convergence there?
No,
it's fixable with lens corrections, though.
It's tilted to the right a little bit.
Mm-hmm. The entire image, you think?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And at this point, he's Peter, you're embarrassing me. I mean, like, they know I know you, and you should be.
How come you didn't tell him to fix that?
I probably did.
Yeah, but it's Peter. It's Peter. No, good job. I love that. I'm so jealous of him, man, because he's traveling the world. Clearly knows what he's doing, capturing images. And if you have the opportunity this week, photo folks, if you have the opportunity to meet Peter Levshin, you'll see that he's like the most down to earth, insane person that you've ever met.
Yeah, and what always cracks me up is that you'll be talking to him, and I did this too. But when you talk to him with new people, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, so when I was in Singapore, yeah, I was there." Or somebody would go, "Oh, I just went to Russia." He goes, "Oh yeah, I was in Russia," and then we did. And at some point, you're thinking like, "I'm gonna call BS."
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
nope, you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
He's been there.
Yeah, the most interesting man in the world, Peter Levshin.
Yeah. He's Walter Mitty.
Yeah, very cool. All right. Thank you, Peter. All right, here's another one from Peter. Speaking of Russia.
Yeah,
all right, this one is a little freaky looking here. Look at that.
I know. He was going through this collection, and I'm like, oh my God, what would Renee Robin do with these buildings? Like, what would she build? Right? Like that's what I mean. Like, I walk around and see these things, and I mean, like, I don't even know what to do with that.
Yeah. Looking at this image from a nitpicker standpoint, I want this building to be centered. It feels like it wants to be symmetrical, and it feels like it's tilted to the left of the frame a little bit. And then also, I think he's not centering it because he wanted to show that building in the background, which I don't necessarily care about. It may be of some import, but I don't necessarily care about it. I care about this giant thing in the foreground. That's the subject in my head. So I'd want this to be symmetrical. Also, it looks like he's cutting off something at the top of that spire there.
Yep.
The other two look like they have crosses on them. So I'm assuming that one has a cross on it as well, but it's cut off.
Yeah, he could clone that out. Love the clouds though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the clouds are crazy. Love that.
Yeah. Center that up, Peter. Come on, man.
What are you doing? You know what else is cool? I don't know if you noticed this, but I think I'm looking at this right. In the very front of the building on the first floor, the door's open.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed really that. Cool. Yeah.
It makes me want to go in there and explore a little bit. And maybe not come out, but yeah. I like it.
I bet Peter did. I bet he snuck in there.
Yeah, he would, Peter. All right, here's another one. Joel Figueroa from a street installation in Austin, Texas. Okay, let's bring that up. My internet connection seems to be chugging along today for some reason. All right, here we go. What do you think about this one?
I really like it. I love all the colors. I like the fact that it's got some of the city in the background. Mm-hmm. And, it's an installation, so it's there, and you have to just sort of walk up and grab it. You have an opportunity to change your angle here, and I think that, cropping into the body a little bit, I would prefer that wasn't happening on the right-hand side. And I might say, take a different approach to this. If anybody else was to walk up to this image or this piece of art and want to photograph it, how was yours different than what they would do? Okay. And so, maybe get down really, really low and shoot from the ground and isolate this more against the sky with some buildings in the background, shoot wide, horizontal, super low, and get rid of the street scene and isolate this against the tree or the sky or something. I mean, I love what it's telling. I love the story of it, but I think there's a few things that we could do to improve that.
Yeah, one of the things when I do talks on beginning photography and that sort of thing, one of the things I tell folks is that most of the world is somewhere between 4 foot 5 inches and 7 feet tall, right?
Right.
Most of us fall within that window, adult-wise. So the minute you can just break out of that and shoot either higher than that or lower than that, it instantly becomes a little bit more interesting. Because you're not, like if you're just walking around, you're going to see it just like this. But if you get lower, closer, distort it, you instantly make it a little bit more interesting because it's not what you would have normally seen from your point of view.
Right. If you walk up to something and your first instinct is to stand here, you stop yourself and go, okay, I might take that shot, but what am I going to do that's completely different? Mm-hmm. And the whole perspective thing you're saying is the same thing with people photographing kids. It always drives me nuts to see an adult photographing a child from a standing position. Mm-hmm. Everybody looks at kids from that position, but they have to look up at you. Mm-hmm. So if you shoot from their eye level, you've already just made a better image.
Yeah. Same with pets, right? Same with pets.
Pets. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Pets. It's hard with squirrels, though. They don't hold still and they move a lot.
Yeah. Well, they don't have much of attention span anyway. All right, cool. Love these shots. This is my favorite part of the week, going through these shots. All right, Jan, you never told me how to pronounce your last name from the last show. So I'm going to say Jan. And by the way, Jan and I were kind of traded a few messages on TWiP PRO, and I'm going to try to get him on This Week in Photo as a guest to kind of talk through his work here. So
yeah.
This is another photo from his project Marks of Pride, where he's photographing people with scars, quote, for the beauty of it.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love the lighting on this. The light in her eyes is fantastic. Mm-hmm. A little bit of a PPA nitpick, if you will, is one catch light. Mm-hmm. So it looks like
really?
Yeah. One catch light is really important. If you think back, if you look at any painted art, portraits, they rarely will paint more than one catch light.
Why is that? I mean, not to do them a disservice, but what makes having only one catch light correct?
Less busy.
What I would say?
I'm sure there's a different explanation. I don't know, but if you take out, my
explanation would be because nature only, generally speaking, has one catch light, and that's the sun.
Well, yeah.
So our brain is kind of programmed to only have one little catch light in the eye. So.
This is evidence of things that we know. Well, I'll say we know to be true or we agree with, but we don't really know the origins of the whys.
Right, exactly. Well, we just pretend like we know everything and wait for people to fact check us.
But you take out that little secondary catch light, and immediately the eyes feel better to me.
Yeah. Which one would you take out? Which catch light?
The little one, the one on the far left.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And then I just wish the pose, I think she was turned to the camera a little bit more, because I want to see the triangle by her right elbow, mm-hmm. and it would minimize the size of her left shoulder.
So turn with her left shoulder more towards the camera.
Yeah, so her right shoulder comes more towards the camera. Her left shoulder moves away. That'll minimize that a little bit. We'll be able to see more of her right elbow, which will keep those two pieces from intersecting, right? Mm-hmm. And then also, just depending on the pose, the way that she's standing, the way she stands on her feet, shifting weight from one leg to another. If she were to shift her weight and put it on her left leg and let her hip pop out, and then she could tilt that left shoulder to you a little bit. It's called the S curve. Oh. And dropping that left shoulder and raising the right one would open up her face even more.
Okay.
It's hard to describe verbally.
Yeah, no, I get you.
I can see it.
I get you. I get you. What do you think about the processing and his black and white treatment?
I think it's great. I think it's really well handled.
Yeah. I have nothing to say about that. It looks really clean, really cool, tack sharp. And I defer to you on the posing because that's what you've done. 1 or 3 posings of people.
Yeah.
Right? So
I watched the video.
You watched the YouTube video? Yeah. Cool. All right. Jan. I don't even know if I'm saying Jan right. It might be Jean or something. So you gotta let me know, man. I'm feeling bad here. All right. And the last one here is from Mark Domke. Grain and texturizer grain and fertilizer storage silos at Steinhardt Terminal in Missouri River, Nebraska City. Thought we talked about this one already, but if we did, we're gonna do it again.
Yeah, I don't remember because I go through and look at the images ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. And I know I make mental notes and sometimes written notes, and sometimes I don't remember what I thought versus what I said. So.
Well, it'll be a good test if we say the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
How far off we are.
Exactly. Well, I'll let you go first. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I love the symmetry of this. I like the fact that causeway or that walkway is leading out into the lower right hand portion of the frame. I love that. I would bring the exposure down a little bit and do some dodging and burning in the sky in the lower left foreground so that that little shack, if you will, would pop out a little bit more. But other than that, it's a cool drone shot. I mean, it's neat that he's able to get up there and do that.
Right? Yeah. No, I agree. I'm assuming he's shot it with a drone. Did he say that?
He did.
Description?
TWiP Pro.
Yeah, Phantom 4 Pro. I need to get my drone out. My drone needs to flap its wings Yeah, I look at this one. I thought that you were going to just fall in love with this one just because it is a distressed building.
Yeah.
And it's in black and white.
Well, there is all of those elements. Everybody knows that already. So we'll just
exactly. What do you think about the gradient? It looks like he darkened the sky a little bit with a gradient up there. Is that for me? It's a little bit on the harsh side, but not egregiously so.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean that can happen just in the sky in general, depending on what the sun's at. But for the most part, that doesn't bother me. No, I feel like the whole overall image is a bit hot. Even the deep shadows in between the silos are pretty bright. I can see deep into there, so you could pull it down a little bit more. Yeah. And I think we have one more image.
We have another image?
Well, if you go right below your announcement, there's Wes Jordan.
Oh yeah, look at that one. Yeah, almost missed that one. Wes
Just
Jordan
one
Jr.
more.
Yeah, a new member as well. Cool, good. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's bring that up here. Very cool. Look at that. Talk about photojournalism.
Yeah, and that's fun. I mean, that is so cool. This is one of the things that when we do families and things like it's always like how do you guys play? What do you do to play? And this is brilliant. I mean, this is a perfect family photo moment. Dad and daughter or whatever. I mean, that's great. Throw your kid in the air.
Exactly.
Let me show you how powerful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I like this. Yeah. It seems a little bit. I don't know if it's me or was he attempting to clone out the background to go for that full white back there, but around the dad, it seems a little bit cut out-y.
Yeah, and that could just be clipped in the exposure, but it does look a little. It's a little muddied, so maybe it's cropped out of a bigger frame. But I'm okay with that because it's the expression of the child's face that just absolute trust and joy. You just can't pay for that. That's just great.
That's the daddy-daughter bond right there. Cannot break it. Cool. Awesome. No, I love these shots. And I love the cropping too. The looks like he's almost square, maybe a little bit rectangular. Long width is a little bit longer than the height. But yeah, I love the cropping and the overall composition. Where that's basically the diagonal. So the action is happening from the top left to the bottom right.
Yeah.
And then she's facing into the frame, so it's composed perfectly. So
yeah, and her arms are even following, paralleling her father's arms. We'll call her father, right? Her arms, his arms, and just the way the story is in the frame, and all those little things matter. So if you have control over the frame, if you have control when you're doing a portrait session or a studio session or whatever, think about those things: leading lines and repeating patterns and flow, of light. Yeah. It all matters.
It all matters. Very cool. Awesome. What a great crop this week, huh?
Yeah. Way to go for us for knocking it out.
Exactly. Hey, it's what we do. No, good job. And kudos to everyone who submitted. Again, thank you for submitting. I love to see your work. And you guys are obviously the community, but you make the community a community by participating and showing us images and having the bravery to show images and have them critiqued by us, but also by, eyes on from the greater community and the world, right? Because people subscribe to the show, they see that, they subscribe to the YouTube video, they see your shots, they go to the blog post, your shots are there as well. So your shots get a fair amount of exposure when you simply just submit them to the photo critique channel. So kudos and thanks for doing that.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And the growth path of getting better, right? Because you and I talk about that a lot. Like, what can we do to help people get better? Not just talk about stuff, but like, what can we do to make them better? How we teach this, or how do we show this concept? Yeah. And by submitting your work, whether you agree with the critiques or not, or maybe somebody else's image, there's a nit in there that you're like, oh, I'm going to take that. That helps your work get better. Yeah. So that's the goal.
Yeah, that is the goal. And we are, part of the goal is, as the community grows, the onus is on me to make sure that this stuff, flows properly and is streamlined and as efficient as possible. Hence, we are not reading through all the data that people submit for each image because we just don't have time to do all that.
Right.
And I, again, want to reiterate Troy's suggestion of titling your images if you can. If you put a title in there, that will help us sort of grok what you were getting at when you created the image versus us having to read through paragraphs of specs and soliloquy and all that stuff.
Yeah. A quick tip on finding titles for your images: jazz music song titles are crazy cool. So just go look at jazz songs and just look at the wording in there, and you'll be like, oh, the sunshiny raspberry tulip. Great.
I think I dig that. That's cool. Hey, can I give a completely unrelated non sequitur tip to this that I want to share with the community? And I may be late to the party, but I want to share it anyway. And this may be my pick of the week on This Week in Photo. But I was on YouTube, and YouTube's recommendation engine suggested I watch this YouTube video, actually a series of videos from NPR called Tiny Concerts. Have you heard of these Tiny Office? I think Tiny Office. Yeah, I think it's Tiny Office Concerts. And what they do is they bring in these well-known artists into the NPR offices. I'm presuming they're in New York City. They bring them into literally someone's cubicle, and they perform a set from the cubicle. And they've had pretty much every artist that you probably know have been in there doing their thing. And it's an intimate sort of setting because they all use the same mic, and it's not like they're doing this big stage production. They had Erykah Badu in there. They had Adele in there. All these people that you're like, okay, these people fill stadiums and they're performing in someone's cubicle. So
wow.
So you could, and there's the playlist up, so you could just set it playing and just have ambient music all day long playing while you work. It's crazy. YouTube doing good stuff. So cool. All right. Any final remarks you'd like to leave before we end this one?
No, I'm looking forward to the Watch Me Work. I'm looking forward to the Hangout. What would you call it?
Well, tentatively, I'm calling it the office hours, but I'm not.
The office hours. I'm looking forward to that kind of stuff. That's going to be great because I love that very organic. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So
yeah. So yeah, me too. So fingers crossed that I'll be able to pull it off. But it'll be good. It will be good. And I am. I'll post this in TWiP PRO. I'm heading out to Ohio at the end of the month. My birthday is on the 28th, by the way. And the 29th, I'm on a plane out to Ohio to give a talk for Panasonic about mirrorless and all that stuff. So I will post the details in TWiP PRO. If you are in the area, I'd love to hang out with you. Cool. All right. Cool. And with that, man, we're gonna end this one. Thanks for your nitpicking, Troy Miller. And we'll see you in the next one.
You got it. Take care.
All right. Peace.
All right. Bye.
This is TWiP.